that isn't working? My wife. Your husband is hoping for a little romance. He puts on what?
Soft music.
Soft music.
Okay, I need you to do something for me right now. I need you to imagine that you are at work. You showed up professional. You are dressed impeccably. You have done this job for 14 years. You know every situation. You have handled every type of person. You are ready. And then a grown man walks up to you, looks you in the eye, and tells you that if he found a dead body in his house, he would barbecue it. Or a woman buzzes in on your game show, with her husband standing right behind her, and says the one thing in your home that is not working is her husband. Or a contestant hears the question, name something you like your girlfriend to do to your face, and answers so confidently, so specifically, so completely without shame that you have to sprint around the entire stage just to release the energy in your body. That is Steve Harvey's daily life. And today, we are going through every single moment that should have made this man quit, but did not, because Steve Harvey is not built like the rest of us. Let's go. Steve Harvey did not have an easy road. He grew up in poverty in West Virginia. He slept in his car for years while trying to make it as a comedian. He performed at clubs where the audience booed him. He kept going. He wrote best-selling books. He hosted his own talk show. He became one of the most recognizable television personalities on the planet. And then in 2010, somebody gave him a game show called Family Feud. And the rest, as they say, is history. Chaotic, unhinged, absolutely legendary history. For over 14 years, Steve Harvey has sat across from ordinary Americans and listened to answers that no amount of comedy training, life experience, or personal therapy could have prepared him for. And through all of it, the inappropriate answers, the confident wrong answers, the answers that made him question whether humanity was going to be okay, he kept coming back. Every single episode. Today we are going through the moments that tested him the most. The answers that broke him, confused him, embarrassed him, and occasionally made him sprint across his own stage. In order of chaos, starting now. Steve Harvey asks the question. Simple enough. Name something in your home that is not working. Expected answers. The dishwasher. The Wi-Fi router. The garage door that makes that noise. Normal household malfunction things. A man named Ricky steps up, looks at Steve Harvey, and with a completely straight face, no smile, no warning, no apology, answers, my wife, his wife, was standing right behind him. Steve Harvey doubled over the podium. He could not stand upright. He gave Ricky a high five while still bent over laughing. And then, because the universe enjoys punishing Steve Harvey specifically, when they revealed the board, spouse or mate was actually on it. 9 people had given that answer. 9 human beings, when asked what in their home was not working, thought of their partner. Ricky was right. He was statistically, factually, survey-confirmedly correct. His wife stood behind him with an expression that could freeze water. And Steve Harvey could not stop laughing long enough to professionally continue the show. Ricky is a legend. His marriage may not be, but Ricky is a legend. Now this next one requires some setup, because context is everything here. Steve Harvey asks, name things you have stuck your finger in more times than you can count. Yes, this question exists. Yes, it was asked on national television, and yes, the writers knew exactly what they were doing when they put it on the card. Now, among the contestants answering this question is a pastor, a man of God, a spiritual leader, someone whose entire life is dedicated to keeping things appropriate and righteous and above board. And this pastor, this ordained, collar-wearing, congregation-leading man of faith, answers in a way that made Steve Harvey lose every ounce of composure he had ever developed in 14 years of television, without using a single inappropriate word, in the most technically clean way possible, in a way that was somehow 10 times worse because of how clean it technically was. Steve Harvey laughed so hard he had to walk away from the podium. The audience erupted, and the pastor stood there looking genuinely confused about why everyone was reacting this way, which somehow made it even funnier. A man who accidentally said something chaotic without realizing he said something chaotic is the absolute peak of Family Feud comedy. God was probably watching, and even God was laughing. Moment 3. Marjorie Harvey trades her own husband for a pool boy. This one hits different, because this is not just any contestant. This is Steve Harvey's own wife. Celebrity Family Feud. The Harvey family versus each other. And Steve Harvey, standing there as the host, the professional, the man in charge, asks the question, some days, I would be willing to trade my man for a really good what? His wife Marjorie is standing right there. Marjorie Harvey, elegant, composed, and apparently completely done with any pretense, looks at her husband, the host of the show, the man she is married to, and answers with full confidence, "Pool boy." Not a vacation, not a spa day, a pool boy. Specifically a pool boy. And the best part? Her opponent in this round was Steve Harvey's own mother-in-law, who was standing right there watching her daughter trade her son-in-law for aquatic maintenance services. Steve Harvey turned to his mother-in-law. He had no words. For possibly the first time in his television career, Steve Harvey, a man whose entire job is words, had none. He just looked at the woman who raised his wife, and they shared a moment of shared helplessness. The audience lost their minds. Marjorie did not flinch, not even slightly. Steve Harvey's favorite type of contestant, and he has said this publicly, is the arrogant man who walks up to that podium completely sure of himself and then proceeds to embarrass himself on national television in front of his entire family. This moment is the definition of that. Steve asks, "Name something you will let your husband get away with doing, but just once." A man steps up. He thinks. He buzzes in. He leans toward the microphone and he says, with genuine confidence, with an actual nod of his head like he has just delivered wisdom, "Cheating." His wife is standing directly behind him, not 5 feet away, right there, and this man is nodding, like he has just made a reasonable point. Steve Harvey stared at him, at the wife, at the camera, back at the man, and said, "Brother, you are cooked." Not interesting answer. Not, let's see if it is on the board. You are cooked. The wife's face was a masterpiece of human expression. Cold, flat, already mentally filing paperwork. She had not moved a single muscle. She just looked at the back of her husband's nodding head and processed what the rest of her life was going to look like. The answer was not on the board, but it has lived on the internet forever, and that might be worse. And finally, one last moment that proves Family Feud contestants have absolutely no self-preservation instincts whatsoever. The question, name something a man's mother-in-law should have to make him like her better. Now you are thinking, a good sense of humor, maybe a kind personality. Perhaps she should mind her own business a little more. Reasonable, safe, socially acceptable answers. This contestant, this brave, reckless, completely unfiltered human being, answers that his mother-in-law should be gifted in the chest area. Steve Harvey immediately expressed regret. He said he was already thinking about how HI's mother-in-law was going to react to this. The audience looked at everyone, and Steve Harvey looked into the camera with the expression of a man who has seen too much, knows too much, and yet keeps showing up to work anyway. Every single day. That is the man, the myth, the absolute legend who wakes up every morning, presses his suit, and walks back into that studio knowing, and he is going to have to stand there and deal with it professionally. Ricky called his wife the broken thing in his house. A pastor accidentally destroyed his own reputation. Marjorie Harvey traded her own husband for a pool boy, to his face. And Steve Harvey survived every single one of them. Not just survived, thrived. Because Steve Harvey's greatest gift is not his timing, not his suits, not his one-liners. His greatest gift is his ability to be genuinely, authentically, completely human in the most unscripted moments that television can produce. And that realness, is why people have been watching this show for over 50 years.